The Griffins might not be the first people that come to mind when you think of smart TV families, but there are a few moments that make you wonder, are they all secretly geniuses? That's why we're going to be taking a look at some of the times the Griffins made us question our own intelligence. So let's start with the time Peter decided to smarten up his family of idiots and the most interesting man in the world.
It's only been 5 minutes and I'm already bored out of my mind.
So Peter's watching Stewie at the park until yet again he shows us what his priorities are. Big shocker, it's not watching his baby. Although when you have the chance to get blackout drunk with your buddies on a random Tuesday, you can't let anything get in your way. So he leaves Stewie at the park for the drunken clam, but when Lois calls, Peter freaks out and runs back to the park to grab someone.
Hey, what happened to my new friend? That kid who sorta looks like me from behind.
You know how dumb you gotta be to mix up kids when your son's head looks like a football? So Lois obviously freaks out when she realizes the mix-up.
Now calm down, Lois. You're gonna say something you don't mean.
Oh, no, I'm not. You're an idiot.
And even though he's heard this from his wife for about 300 episodes at this point, this time it really stuck. So Peter decides to stop being an idiot by going out and experiencing culture while on a work trip in Chicago. Taking in things like the lyric opera, an optician who sells the biggest and smartest looking glasses, and finally, the Art Institute.
He did a great job with the
A man of culture, a man of taste, a man of not reading the room when kids are around. But Peter's so psyched about how much he's learned that he decides to travel the world even more. He even wins a chess tournament despite not even being able to spell the word chess 2 weeks ago. But really, most of it just comes from the hours he spent driving a rental car with the radio stuck on NPR.
How was the car?
coastal and superior.
And when he returns, he's no longer the fat, sloppy, dumb drunk you know and love.
How were all your business trips?
Oh, exemplary, Chris.
I don't understand what either of those words mean.
The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and it sounds like the apple fell right on Chris's head. So Lois is pretty excited about Peter's newly found brain power since intelligence is the ultimate aphrodisiac. His words, not mine. But that doesn't last very long. Like 2 minutes max.
Mom, Dad, the TV's broken!
No, dummy, that's called a bookshelf. It's got all the channels you need. You want Walking Dead? Try Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. New Girl? Check out Jane Eyre.
Instead, I shall read to you from Game of Thrones.
And even when Peter goes out drinking with his buddies, they realize something's different when he brags about learning a new language.
I'm learning Sanskrit. You know, an ancient tongue can be as titillating as a young one.
Pause. But like every alcoholic family man who suddenly becomes a pretentious genius overnight, he tried to convert his kids as well. First lesson of the day, don't laugh at smart words that sound funny but aren't.
Homo erectus. Spotted dick.
Quagmire knows a thing or two about spotted. Actually, not going there. I've matured in the 2 seconds between deciding to finish that joke or not. Anyway, the family quickly finds themselves missing dumb Peter, so they hatch a plan to get him back. So if going to smart cities made him smart, how do you make him dumb again? Send him to the dumbest city on the planet, of course.
Aloha!
And it doesn't take long in Tucson to revert him back to the idiot we love.
I saw a wet t-shirt contest using chocolate milk. It was at the Tucson Philharmonic.
Sorry, Tucson, but, well, you know who you are. So it may have been short-lived, but for a good 10 minutes in this episode, Peter proved that he actually has the capacity to be a genius if he just broadens his horizons. And that wasn't the first time Peter tried to get smart, only this time his wits in Passenger Fatty 7 could have been his undoing.
San Francisco. San Francisco!
So after a successful vacation to San Francisco, checking off every box on the tourist itinerary, Peter and the guys take their flight home, only to find that the ride on the Segways wasn't the biggest threat to their lives.
Those guys in first class have guns!
Cleveland, just be happy with what you have.
Is this a new first-class privilege I'm unaware of? I thought they just got the couple inches extra leg room and the fancy hot towels that are either for cleaning your hands, wiping your face, or twirling up and smacking your annoying seat neighbor with. Can you tell this clam only flies coach?
So nobody try to get smart.
Page 100.
Genius, Peter. A real smart guy would try to smart talk a psycho with a gun in your face for the bit. But Peter's been in sticky situations like this before, like when he and Lois were trapped together in the Splendid Source.
Hi, Chris. How was school?
Not good. I got suspended for saying bad words.
So when Chris's principal wants to meet Peter and Lois to discuss Chris's suspension, Peter naturally presumes it's a trap. He also just watched Return of the Jedi last night, so currently everything's a trap to him. But Lois is nowhere near as skeptical as he is, despite him reminding her about the last trap they walked into.
Any more bright ideas, Professor?
It's gotta be one of the lowest points in your life, Peter seeing a trap coming before you and him doubling down on it with smart alecky comments. But with Peter, sometimes smart Alec is as close to smart as you're gonna get. And there's the occasional moment you wonder if he's actually smart, like in the episode Catfight when he went on a campout with a Christian group.
Jesus has love for everyone.
Actually, what Jesus has is the might of Western civilization. Jesus has guns, germs, and steel.
Family Guy just loves a good old-fashioned religious debate followed by a terribly awkward silence, don't they?
Sorry, the wood is very wet.
Actually, the wood is very dry. Wet wood hisses, dry wood crackles during uncomfortable silence.
You really showed those 12-year-olds, Peter. But on the rare moments when Peter has the chance to look smart, and I mean rare, like Knicks winning the NBA championship rare, then Peter's gotta take that chance.
I like cutaways where I get to be smart.
And then there are episodes where Peter is like insanely stupid, but somehow in an almost genius way, like in Foxy Lady.
Well, see, I got drunk and then got my picture taken, so that way when I get pulled over for drunk driving, I look the same as on my license.
Then the cop will just say, "You're not drunk, this is just how you look." We all know drunk driving is pretty dumb, right? You heard it here first, we're not advocating for it. But in some kind of way, isn't this also just a little bit genius? As Sweaty Clam Sr. always said, if you're gonna be an idiot, at least don't be stupid. But sometimes the key to intelligence is simplicity, as Peter shows us in Be Careful What You Fish For.
So I figured out a way to kill two birds with one stone. Like this.
You see, simple. Most people don't spend too much time thinking about the literal meaning of these weird little phrases, but a big brain like Peter puts them into action. Just don't ask him what he thinks two birds in the bush means. But some of the best moments of intelligence from Peter come when he's roasting real-life idiots, like a personal trainer he meets in Family Guy Light.
Tell me, what's your favorite kind of food?
Pizza.
So after failing to climb the stairs at work, Peter decides it's finally time to get himself in shape. He has technically been A-shape his whole life, just not a healthy one. But one meeting with his personal trainer has him regretting ever leaving the house.
You can't eat pizza.
Why not?
It's
Well, man, spit it out. I have a pizza coming in the next 30 minutes. I need to know what I'm risking before I say screw it and enjoy my whole meat feast in one sitting. Pizza, guys. The meat feast is a pizza. But it becomes clear that Jace has no idea about nutrition other than the one TikTok he saw about mukbangs or mukbangs or whatever and their health risks.
All right, I'm cutting this off right now. It's clear you're an idiot and deserve no more of my time.
When Peter of all people shows more smarts and logic than you about health and nutrition, you really gotta rethink a few things. And that same thing happens when Chris proves that he's smarter than anyone gives him credit for in Pitch Imperfect.
Cha-ching! I mean, hello? Would you guys like an adjustment?
So Brian and Stewie stumble into a chiropractor's tent while at Oktoberfest. The natural home of backcrackers, apparently? But after an adjustment and a $700 bill for like 10 seconds of mindless rubbing and a neck snap, Brian realizes he could be making the same kind of money.
You could, and that's not a compliment. His degree was from a Margaritaville.
Family Guy's basically saying this job is so easy a dog could do it. Now obviously Brian reads a bunch and Stewie's some kind of baby super genius, but is this showing how smart they are or how dumb Family Guy thinks chiropractors are? After all, how hard is it to rub a guy down and spew some nonsense?
Sitting's the silent killer.
No, I stand quite often.
And that's your problem right there. Standing's the silent killer.
But things take a turn for the pair when they realize Chris has stolen all their clients.
A lot of those people came to you with real problems and you just exploited them for money.
Yeah, that's the whole chiropractic model.
You're telling me this is the same guy who once ate a diamond ring that he thought was a lug nut because he dared himself to eat it? And he can just be a chiropractor on a whim. Any chiropractors watching this are probably offended, but that's kind of Family Guy's thing, isn't it? But the thing is, he's a really good chiropractor.
What do you even know about being a chiropractor?
Well, enough to look at your posture and know that you sit for a living.
Oh, damn, he's good.
Not quite as good at fish maintenance. But hey, fish are hard to look after. You have to remember to feed them and, well, that's about it. So now that Chris has stolen all their clients, the two practices go into competition with each other.
Wow, that was your C4 vertebra. Ah, that was your LMNOP.
If Brian were more full of crap, he'd be eating himself. Dog joke, get it? Alright, that's my one failed dad joke for this video. Anyway, Chris has already mastered the art of chiropractics, but he also shows he's way smarter than Brian and Stewie when it comes to customer relations.
I heard you're still not paying for Pandora Premium, so your music has commercials. That sounds relaxing.
But both of them eventually get shut down for fraud because however smart they may seem for a second, everyone in the Griffin family is a moron. Still, Chris proved he is definitely smart enough to be a chiropractor. And cracking backs is one thing, but Chris even proved he's smart enough to be an astronaut when he attends space camp in Space Cadet.
I just wanted to listen to you guys have But you were saying mean things about me!
So Chris overhears Peter and Lois talking about his intelligence, or in this case, the total lack thereof. I mean, no one likes overhearing their parents saying they think they're stupid, but no one should like overhearing their parents going at it either, so honestly, Chris, you kinda had this coming. But Peter tries to make Chris feel better, though he's not selling it very well.
Hey, Smarty, think fast. He knows it's hot, because he's smart.
But when that doesn't work, they instead give him some options for a summer camp to go to boost his confidence, and Chris chooses space camp.
Spend a week doing intensive math and science, learning from real astronauts.
Not to steal Peter and Lois's whole thing, but Chris does realize that going to space camp means learning about orbital dynamics, astronaut physiology, and why the Artemis crew are the coolest to ever do it, not just looking up at the night sky and staring at the sparkly lights, right?
Mom, I hate it here. I want to come home. All the kids are mean, and I keep messing everything up.
So it's no surprise that Chris doesn't have the greatest time at space camp, and after wasting thousands of dollars to send him there, the Griffins are forced to pick him up before his time is done. But at least that means they'll get a tour of one of the rocket ships.
Ooh, big red button!
Stewie, no!
You'd think the kid who built a time machine when he was still in Huggies would know you never touch the big red button. And when the ship launches into space, Chris has to put on the one thing that's been hiding in his closet longer than the evil monkey, his thinking cap.
In space camp, we learned about countering forward momentum with retro rockets.
This is a kid who usually struggles to operate a light switch without an incident, but when he's faced with disaster, he's apparently able to summon the right stuff. Maybe deep down, Chris Griffin is smart. Deep, deep down.
Chris, what are you doing?
Saving our lives.
Oh, I wish he hadn't said that. Now I'm kind of rooting against him.
The ship lands safely, and the kid genius is hailed as a local hero. His parents feel something they've never felt in their entire lives and never thought they'd feel in a million years. Pride for their kids. Not Meg, though. No matter how smart she continues to prove to be, their relationship with their daughter will still only range from forgetting she exists to actively rooting for her downfall. But while Chris might be a bit of a disappointment, he only takes after his old man, as Peter realizes when he finds an old home video in Peter, Chris, and Brian.
I just hope to God you're not stuck in some loser job like in a brewery or a toy factory or a fishing boat. Oh boy.
So Peter spends the whole night regretting every decision he's ever made, thinking about how many dreams he had as a kid that just completely fell away. You know, adulthood. But Chris joins him and starts rocking the nunchucks just like that chubby little loser in the video.
Listen to me, Chris. I'm a failure in life, and that's all I'll ever be. But it's not too late for you.
But let's be real, it probably is too late for Chris, considering who his dad is. Like, he can't be raised by Peter Griffin and turn into a doctor or a PTA president or even a functioning member of society. But because of that video, Peter swears he's going to turn Chris into a success.
Computer, what does success mean?
Chris, let me know when you're done with the computer.
Yeah, this kid might be fighting a losing battle. The only time I've ever talked to a toaster was that time I ate those funny tasting brownies my roommate left on the counter. Peter does everything he can to try and make Chris smarter and more primed for success, but he might not be the best teacher.
Chris, your best chance for success is to be cultured and worldly, like our dog.
So Peter decides to pass the job over to Brian, but it's tough. Like, he wants Chris to go to Shakespeare in the park, but Chris just wants to see two broke girls in the park. Even when Brian breaks out the Latin books, Chris only wants to study Latinas. But after a while of working with Brian, it's like Chris has turned into a completely new person.
Good evening, all. Apologies for being so tardy.
Ah, Chris, you're not tardy. We tested you twice.
So Brian and Chris spend an entire day doing sophisticated stuff like going to the symphony and attending a Q&A where none of the cues were actually cues. Because apparently in the Family Guy world, all you've got to do to be a genius is go to a couple art galleries and throw on a sweater. Because for the second time, that works.
If anything, he's teaching me. I mean, not really, but you know.
So now that Brian's lessons are over, Peter wants to take Chris to throw tater tots at the new baby panda in the zoo. You know, father-son bonding, but Chris says that's something the old him would do.
We're participating in an autism walk.
Looks like you're doing it right now.
So Peter's starting to get a little ticked because he didn't realize his son bettering himself would mean they spend less time together. But if you think about it, Peter, that's kind of like a recovering alcoholic hanging out with, well, someone like you. It's just that Chris is totally transformed and evolved past Peter. But when he and Brian go to a book club that evening, Chris realizes Brian may not be the smart, worldly dog he thought he was.
In Portnoy's complaint, you've got the guy who's living near the water.
That doesn't sound right.
And that's when it hits Chris like a tater tot hitting a baby panda. Brian's a fraud. He's as dumb as the rest of them. He just pretends he's worldly and sophisticated. So Chris heads to the panda exhibit to join his old man, who never pretends to be something he's not. And that, kids, is how Chris learned life is a little bit more fun as a moron. But of course, it's Meg who's always proving she's smarter than the rest of the family, like when Brian's Instagram was hacked in From Russia with Love.
Someone DM'd me and said they just needed my mother's maiden name, the last 4 numbers of my credit card, and the first 12 numbers of my credit card.
Go figure, it can't be that hard hacking a dog's phone. His password options are pretty much limited to woof and bark, and he's often distracted by squirrels and licking his own crotch. So Meg overhears Brian talking about the Russian hackers, and she immediately comes in with the right energy.
I hear you're looking to kill somebody.
What? No, I'm just trying to find a guy who hacked my Instagram account.
And she goes right to work. Apparently, if you watch enough videos on the dark web, you learn a lot of Russian. Mostly just the words for please don't kill me, though.
Russia has 11 time zones, so if we triangulate the activity through peak hours... Yep, just what I thought. Chelyabinsk.
So Meg takes Brian to pay the hackers a little visit in Russia, which is crazy considering she was raised by a guy who's so directionally challenged, he can barely get himself home from the bar without taking out a few fences.
Now think like a hacker. Where would he be?
Why don't we just follow this giant Ethernet cable?
See, I always thought Russian hackers were too sneaky to just leave a literal trail leading to their door, but maybe Meg's just that good of a detective. And it turns out she's a pretty good interrogator as well.
Это Brian Griffin. Tu крал его Instagram?
Da.
It takes literally one question and Brian's sketchy Instagram DMs are safe once more. Yet again, looks like Meg's the only person holding this entire family together. And that's exactly what Meg realized when the family was all stuck without power in Seahorse Seashell Party.
You guys all think you're so much better than me.
Oh, Meg, that is the least fancy thing I have ever heard.
Yeah, Meg, get your tux on, loser. So everyone starts going at Meg, only this time she's had enough. So she starts roasting everyone in the family, which is insanely easy when the rest of your entire family's IQ barely combines to match a World Cup score.
You're a waste of a man.
Wait a second. These are criticisms.
And after that, everyone else has a mental breakdown arguing with each other. Apparently, they're all like one good roast away from total collapse. Guess that's the suburban middle-class lifestyle in a nutshell, isn't it? And that's when Meg realizes something.
That this family can't survive without some sort of lightning rod to absorb all the dysfunction?
So since Meg is the only normal person in the family, it's up to her to be the punching bag. You know, she could probably just move out, but that's how a normal person would react. Instead, she decides to apologize to her family for all the lies she said to them.
That makes sense. You see, I thought it was weird that I was a bad dad.
Yeah, super weird. Peter's the kind of dad you see in true crime docs when you're totally not surprised that his kid snapped. Still, you'd think he'd be a little more grateful to Meg considering she's shown the emotional maturity her parents can't. And he especially should have been grateful for the time she saved his life, and you can't do that on television, Peter.
This is Meg. She's shadowing me today. And boy, could she put the applesauce away in the commissary.
So Meg quickly proved she was probably an even better doctor than Dr. Hartman, which can't be that hard considering he needs to consult his doctor's manual to perform a simple handshake.
Well, your heartbeat sounds a little fast. Do you smoke?
Actually, I do.
Ah, me too. Isn't it great?
And it's a good thing too, because Peter's about to regret bringing a puma onto his new live kids TV show. It's a mistake we all make, Peter, but next time, maybe start up with an orange tabby and work your way up from there.
I'm asking you who's on first.
So Peter starts bleeding out in front of the live studio audience. Those kids are either going to need a lifetime supply of therapy or they'll have the coolest story to tell at pre-K.
Does anyone have any medical training?
It looks like his jugular is severed. I learned this at the hospital.
So Meg sews him up, which somehow completely heals Peter from literally getting mauled by a puma. Because as we all know, humans are basically just like dolls. You get half your face chewed off, just throw some stitches on there and you'll walk it off. But when Peter wakes up in the hospital the next day, she still can't get any respect.
Isn't anybody gonna thank me?
Yeah, I'll have a water if you get in one.
Maybe next time, Meg, you just let him bleed out. But another character who's proved that her smarts aren't always going to get her any credit is Lois, who hatched a genius, albeit psychotic plan after getting banned from Airbnb in a bottle episode.
The owner of the house gave us a 0-star review. She said we stole something.
So it turns out it was Lois who accidentally stole a bottle of shampoo, and not just any bottle of shampoo. A bottle so big it looks like it's on the Peter Griffin diet.
Yo, that's borderline huge, Mom.
So Lois brings the giant shampoo bottle back to Nantucket, but the lady still won't change her review. Lois needs Airbnb in her life. She can't stay cooped up in that quahog house forever. Have you met her family? So she goes the extra mile and finds Dottie's address to land herself one step closer to a restraining order.
Wouldn't it be a shame if one of only 2 DoorDash drivers on the island gave you a poor review?
So Lois got hired by DoorDash just to blackmail Dottie into giving her a better review. That's really comforting, right? That just anyone with a vendetta can just sign up for one of these companies? Don't go getting any ideas, but it's a great time to be a stalker. The thing is though, it was a pretty good plan. Lois is a smart cookie, even if all her brains come from manipulation. And Lois would once again turn to manipulation to try and get some recognition for her hard work over the holidays and the first Noel.
I can't believe Mom went to Cabo and left us alone for Christmas. What are we gonna do?
So Lois was ticked at her family for not appreciating her enough over the holidays. You'd think she'd be used to it. After all, has her family ever appreciated her? Anyway, turns out she didn't really go to Cabo.
Watching the family fall apart without me is better than Cabo.
But Peter and the family quickly realized Christmas isn't as hard as they thought. Except for the time you put Meg in the oven instead of the Christmas ham, but let's be real. There are similarities. Anyone could have made that mistake. But overall, it looks like Lois's plan is falling apart.
This just in, husband does what wife normally does, comma, makes headlines.
So Lois goes full psycho again, and like we just learned, that's when she's at her sharpest. She's like the Michael Jordan of suburban moms. When it's time to step up, crazy Lois comes out. She basically turns into a genius supervillain.
I must put an end to this whole thing. I must stop Christmas.
So Lois goes into Grinch mode and steals Christmas from the family. Because nothing says love me kids like a little light robbery. And then when she comes back from her vacation, she tries to guilt her family into appreciating her. Don't you just love holidays with the family?
I go away for one Christmas and everything goes down the drain. All of you must feel so terrible.
But there's one present the Grinch couldn't steal. So she finds out that Peter and the kids had written her a heartfelt letter talking about how much they love her, and just like the Grinch, her heart grows 3 sizes that day.
Never seen anything like it. Very dangerous. She's lucky to be alive.
Let's be honest though, Stewie is by far the biggest genius in the family, considering he created a time machine to avoid teething and mind over murder.
1,000 pardons for disrupting your flatware sanitation ritual, but you see I'm in searing pain!
Don't you love Season 1, Stewie? It's like talking to a thesaurus who asked a genie to turn him into a real boy. Anyway, Stewie's sick of the teething, and Lois says she wishes she could move time forward so he can stop feeling bad, which gives him an idea.
I'll simply build a machine that can move time. I shall call it a time machine.
So Stewie starts to plan his time machine, but his mouth still hurts. Never fear, Stewie. Dad's on the job. So Peter's plan for teething is to give him just a little beer. After all, nothing says effective parenting like alcohol.
My time manipulator employs axioms from the quantum theory of molecular propulsion. I've broken my pencil!
Looking at Stewie get plastered off cheap beer, you realize that maybe Stewie and Peter do have a thing or two in common, although the only thing Peter would use a time machine for is to bring back the McRib.
Egads! The blueprints for my time machine, those are for my eyes only!
So Stewie accidentally drops the blueprints and Lois shows them off to everyone, thinking they were just pictures her baby drew. That's pretty high-level drawings for a 1-year-old, don't you think? But everyone at the bar seems mildly impressed.
A time machine? Well, sure, here's where the flux capacitor goes.
Yo, I can't wait to build one of these of my own.
And Stewie's so embarrassed that everyone saw his secret plans that he uses the time machine to keep himself from ever drawing the blueprints. But you gotta wonder, if he rewound time to stop himself from drawing the blueprints, how does he use the time machine? I simply do not get paid the big bucks to work this stuff out. I just point out things I don't understand. But if you think that's a time travel paradox, just wait until you see how Stewie used that time machine to create the universe in the Big Bang Theory.
If only I had a time machine, I could go back in time and have that comeback ready. Wait a minute, I do have a time machine.
So Brian just totally roasted Stewie in front of Chris, and he can't think of a comeback until way later, which is always embarrassing. It's bad enough when you think of a great comeback in the shower like 2 days afterwards, but when it's a dog, that's rough. But Stewie realizes he could use his time machine to beat him to the punch.
What do you want to order? Oh wait, let me guess. Him.
Really? Why would I order your ex-boyfriend?
But it's not just jokes. Like, there are a ton of ways Stewie can use this thing to totally embarrass Brian, including going back in time to be the first to reference the weirdest internet meme of all time.
Hey, where the hell's my banana thing?
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time.
And then Stewie asks Brian about the time he sealed the deal with the Victoria's Secret model, so he goes back to ruin the date. I really want to know what Stewie's plan is here. Is he gonna seduce the model to ruin it for Brian? Remember, this is a baby, but she also went on a date with a dog, so who knows how high her standards are. Anyway, it doesn't take long for Brian to figure out Stewie's master plan.
Stewie, I know you've been going back in time to embarrass me.
So the two end up getting in a fight, which short-circuits the time machine. Remember, always play gently with your time machines or else you accidentally break them and wind up in a deep, endless void.
Well, the only explanation is, we've somehow been transported outside the space-time continuum.
Well, if the rules of time don't apply out here, maybe Brian will finally have the time to finish the follow-up to Faster Than the Speed of Love. Although, honestly, it would take me being stuck in a timeless void to ever read that thing.
If I overload the return pad's reactor, it might release enough energy to blow us back into the universe. But it's too risky.
They try anyway, and it works, but when they get home, Stewie realizes that the energy from the Big Bang matches his return pad. That means he set off the Big Bang and he created the universe. Huge missed opportunity not having Quagmire stick his head in here and say giggity anytime anyone says the words Big Bang, right? Just wait till he starts talking about a galactic bulge.
It's called a temporal causality loop. The universe created me so I could create it so it could create me, and so on.
So after that, Stewie heads to the farmer's market to buy a little more plutonium. Weird considering the only radioactive material I ever see at a farmer's market is my crazy old neighbor's homemade sourdough bread, but maybe plutonium's just more common in New England. So while Stewie's chatting with his plutonium guy, his archenemy makes an unexpected appearance.
Hello, Stewie. You don't realize it yet, but your life is about to cease to exist.
So since he's the one who technically created the universe, Stewie's ancestor dying means the universe is about to end. And after going back, he realizes the ancestor Bertram killed was Leonardo da Vinci. Of course, Stewie's Italian, that explains his love for SpaghettiOs and smoking on the toilet. But even though Bertram killed da Vinci, the universe is still there, which can only mean one thing.
The genetic material needed for my creation is inside me, so I'll take Da Vinci's place and pass it on.
So Brian goes back to the future, trying not to think about how Stewie's gonna pass on his genetic material to his ancestral grandma. But the world is intact, which means Stewie saved the universe. And that same day, he gets a letter that was left to him at the Vatican.
If everything goes according to plan, I will have spent the next 500 years buried beneath our basement.
Not only did he make a time machine, but he made a cryo chamber and figured out the exact spot to be buried. Not bad for a kid who hasn't quite learned how to wipe himself yet. And Stewie's brain got even bigger when the family got superpowers in Family Guy viewer mail number 1.
What do you think's inside? Maybe it's candy!
So despite the giant warning on the side of the tanker truck, the barely literate Chris yanks it open. Although honestly, if it were candy, he'd look like a genius, so maybe hold off on judging him just yet. But of course it's not, and the Griffins are spewed with nuclear waste.
Dear me, does anyone else feel a trifle queasy?
When the brain of the kid who accidentally set off the Big Bang grows twice in size, you gotta wonder what sort of incredible inventions he might make. Or maybe he'll just keep laughing at fart jokes.
Do it again!
Yeah, sounds about right when you give a kid like Chris fire powers. Good thing he didn't get invisibility, he might have lost himself. But even though Stewie's the tech genius of the family, we all know Brian's the real intellectual, as he reminded everyone in Brian Writes a Bestseller.
Clearly, I am not meant to be a writer. I have tried, and nothing has worked out.
Sure, it's tough out there for a writer, but Brian just can't give up writing. Being a writer is the only thing that gives his alcoholism any credibility. Dying drunk in a ditch is like the leading cause of deaths among authors. But honestly, just being able to write a novel that gets published means he's pretty smart, and a lot of the books on the market are pretty dumb, like all those self-help books you see.
I tell you, I could crap one of those things out in a night.
So he does just that, writing Wish It, Want It, Do It in 3 hours, a totally bogus self-help full of empty pages meant for you to write your dreams in or whatever. Although calling a self-help book bogus is kind of like calling an ocean wet.
Brian, they're publishing your book! You're kidding. I can't believe it, that's the worst thing I've ever written!
And it's not just published, it's a bestseller. So he goes on a bunch of different TV shows to promote it, which is weird considering you'd think they'd be more interested in the fact that he's a talking dog than the fact he wrote some self-help slop. Although I'm doing all this as a clam and no one seems overly impressed by that.
We're here with Brian Griffin, local author of the new bestseller, Wish It, Want It, Do It. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
So finally, Brian gets that sweet, sweet validation from the world knowing he's smart, and of course, in true Brian fashion, he uses his new fame to try and get girls while signing autographs. There's a dog and bone joke we are way too classy to make.
This is just a phone number.
I know. My phone number.
Oh.
Bri, you may be smart, but that doesn't mean you suddenly have any kind of game. Anyway, he gets booked on The Dream Show for every pretentious pseudo-intellectual who has a New Yorker subscription they never actually read. Bill Maher.
Yeah, you can wish it and you can do it, but only if you have the educational advantages, the societal advantages.
So it becomes clear pretty quickly that these guys are going to spend the entire time roasting Brian in his silly self-help book, which he kind of deserves when you remember that Wish It and Want It are pretty much the same thing.
Your book basically makes 3 points and 2 of them the same point.
But come on, Brian's smart enough to know this stuff he wrote is all garbage. He wrote it just to make money, which is pretty savvy, but it does not get him any love from the stuffy smarties on this panel.
At least stand by your dump.
And then he gets super nervous, pees on the floor, and gets whacked by a newspaper. But what else do you expect when you book a dog? You should have seen Snoopy when Lester Holt brought up his old tweets. But even though he's pretty pretentious, he is really smart, like when he landed a plane and Dog is my co-pilot.
I've been totally crushing it on this flight simulator app, and now I realize flying a plane is nowhere near as hard as I thought.
So he learns how to fly a plane on his $3 iPad game and keeps bragging about it, which really gets under Quagmire's skin. How would you feel if Quagmire played Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights and suddenly acted like he knew what it was like to be a dog, Brian?
I've enrolled in a flight training school in Florida called Huffman Aviation.
But on Brian's way to flight school, Quagmire and the co-pilot get food poisoning and get a serious case of the poops, which is a reminder for all pilots not to share food with your co-pilots, especially if that food's been in the back of the office fridge for 3 weeks.
Ah, it's coming! Don't worry, Quagmire. I can take over.
Are you crazy? You could never in a million.
So with both pilots indisposed, Brian hops in the cockpit thinking his few hours on a flight simulator are going to translate. Maybe he can take over for Dr. Hartman next. After all, he spent some serious time playing Operation with Stewie. Although every single guy I've ever met who would end up in this situation would be like, I could figure it out.
Lower your flaps more and ease off the throttle.
Roger that.
So Quagmire walks him through landing the plane safely, and against all odds, he lands the sucker.
I don't believe it. He actually pulled it off.
So Brian becomes a national hero, which Quagmire again finds super annoying. He lands planes every single day, you don't see a parade for him, but maybe if Quagmire also ate food off the kitchen floor or chased the mailman down the street, they'd be impressed with him too. Or maybe he's just annoyed that every interviewer just knows him as the guy who was exploding in the bathroom while the dog was being a hero.
Just so we get the on-screen labels correct, you're the one who landed the plane, and you're the one who pooped in the sink.
So obviously Brian uses this as another reason to get a big head, acting all high and mighty. But he did land a plane, so maybe he is as smart as he thinks. But honestly, Brian's smartest moments are when he's not trying to be pretentious and smart, like when he got super philosophical with Stewie and Brian and Stewie.
I hate the idea of you getting your thrills pressing a gun up against your crotch.
So the pair get locked in a bank vault where Stewie realizes Brian has a weapon he's really glad to learn isn't for Brian's secret fun times. But the real reason he has it is kinda a bummer.
Sometimes it's all too much. What is? Life, everything.
So this just got depressing, like one of those episodes where we wonder if Seth MacFarlane just uses his mega hit TV show as a replacement for therapy. But Brian does get pretty deep with his little pal.
Is there ever a time when we're truly in the present moment and not looking toward the past or the future?
It's easy for most dogs to be present. Woof, bark, pee on the floor, bite your grandma, repeat. But being so smart really makes it tough for Brian. So this really is a lesson for you, Brian. You sound a lot smarter when you're not pretending to be smart. But he showed his school smarts when he took on the SATs and Our Idiot Brian.
How about our youth culture, am I right? All the new hairs we're getting? Hey, hashtag SATs, huh?
So Meg was scared to take the SATs, and instead of studying like a normal kid, she asked her dog to take the test for her. That makes sense, right? If we're not getting pet dogs as a means of coasting through life, what are we getting them for?
We scored 1,000.
Nice! 1,000 on the nose. Boop. You are welcome.
Unfortunately, Brian, 1,000 is not a perfect score. It's like average at best, which is a lesson that dogs should only eat your homework, not do your homework. The family has a field day with Brian, as if they could score 1,000 if they added their scores together and tripled it.
It's fun being stupid. You don't gotta worry about nothing, you don't gotta read books, and you never die.
But if you think about it, isn't it kind of impressive that he got an average score without any prep? Like, I remember that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, I remember PEMDAS is a thing, I remember not to trust the cafeteria dino nuggets, but if you asked me to take the SATs, you'd probably need Bill Maher to break out the newspaper again. But Brian takes his average score so badly that he starts living like Peter.
Ah, gross, he's getting his nose period.
Oh my god, we've got to get him to a hospital!
So this isn't the first time Peter's had a buddy pass out cold while crushing 11 a.m. beers, but this one's for a different reason than normal.
I'm sorry to inform you that Brian has a brain tumor.
So that's why he was acting so weird. Plus, doesn't that kind of make it more impressive that he scored 1,000? Like, he had a lump pressing against his brain and still scored better than every single student I was ever partnered with in school. So he gets the tumor removed, only after a few more days of living like a blissful, careless idiot.
I feel like the main character of As I Lay Dying, as he or she lay dying.
There's our guy. That's the exact amount of superficial quasi-knowledge the old Bry had. But Brian and Peter would put their brains together to get Peter's identity back and back to the woods.
Peter, your Visa bill is $16,000. Somebody's been using your credit card.
It's kind of hard to believe a guy like Peter would be approved for more than a $300 secured card at 150% interest, but sure, we'll play along. So Peter loses his wallet at a concert, but after some sleuthing, they realize that the thief eats at the same place every single day, so Peter puts his dog to work.
Come on, boy, get the sand.
Cut it out! Stop it! Oh, God, that's disgusting! You're an idiot, you know that? Wait a minute.
It may be Brian's brain that's going to help him catch this crook, but at the end of the day, a dog's greatest weapon is his nose. So they follow that super sniffer all the way to Peter's old enemy, James Woods, who's completely stealing Peter's identity and even stealing his house.
Hello, officer. Would you be kind enough to remove this trespasser from my home?
I mean, he does have Peter Griffin's driver's license, social security, and deed to the house, which puts Joe in a tough spot. Obviously, we all walk around with our house deeds in our wallets, so this totally makes sense. So Joe throws Peter out of the house and even makes him strip down, since the clothes belong to Peter Griffin, but Peter and Brian hatch a brilliant plan to get his identity back.
Mom, Dad, this is Scooter.
So they sneak Peter into the house pretending he's Chris's friend, which if James knew anything about the family, totally wouldn't work. Chris doesn't have friends. The only way it would make sense is if they dress Peter up like a doll named Heather with a volleyball for a head. Anyway, the plan goes flawlessly, right up until James tells Scooter that they don't allow hats at the dinner table, ruining his perfect disguise.
My bad, Mr. G. Dad, no!
Aha! I should have known!
Ah, so close. But after running away from James Woods' gunfire, Peter and Brian realize that they've been going at this all wrong. And Brian has got a plan so simple, it's genius.
If he's Peter Griffin, then that means you can be James Woods.
Peter loves that idea. If he were a famous movie star, he wouldn't even want his family anymore. Not exactly what he meant, Peter, but glad to see where your head's at. So that night, James Woods gets booked on Letterman.
Please welcome our next guest, Mr. James Woods. Oh, James.
He's got James Woods' ID and credit card, so obviously Dave Letterman has no choice but to let him stay on the show. That's how identity theft works, right? So James Woods, tells everyone he's here to talk about his new comedy based around a national tragedy.
The movie's called September 11th, 2000 Fun.
If we're looking at his credits list, this might actually be one of the more normal movies James Woods has made in like 20 years. So James's reputation is completely tanked, but when he confronts Peter about it, he falls for the old ooh piece of candy trick again. Because hey, if it ain't broke, right?
Ooh, a piece of candy.
And that's our video, which means you can get back to helping your dog study for the SATs. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any more great Family Guy videos.